Hey there, everybody. Well, welcome to Welcome to this live stream. Live stream where today we're doing another me. Today we're doing a January 6th hearing meeting. Pass a resolution. So let's get right to it. Okay. Personal information. Sorry about that. Now then, let's get right down to it. Well, it's gonna take. All right, we're in, but that's gonna take a while to get it in. All right, we're in the meetings, but it's gonna take a while to actually get in. So how should I put this? Let's got it. Let's fast forward through. Let's fast forward through this while we do the waiting process. Shouldn't take that long. Here we go.
Really good music. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Let me turn the music down actually for you all just a little bit to make sure that you all are able to hear me. So, how are you all doing today? My name is Carlos Child. I'm the fair and secure elections organizer here at Public Citizen. Here you go, going down. Yes, and I'm so glad to have you all here today for our January 6th resolution call. Oh, we have an exciting lineup of speakers, exciting
Hey, can you turn down the music or speak up because I can barely hear you?
Cool. Sorry about that. If this is better, just give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know, and that'll be so.
Although you're muted.
Oh, that's funny. Thank you all. So yes, how are you all doing today? Third time's the charm. So yes, my name is Carlos Childs. I am the fair and secure elections organizer for Public Citizen here. I am so happy to be partnering. I'm so happy to have Public Citizen partnering with People for the American Way and all of the amazing work that we have done together and will do together. What we're doing here is having our January 6th resolution host call.
Recording in progress.
Thank you too. Everyone is just on it today. I love it. So what we will be doing for this host call is that we will be telling you about ways to get activated after the January 6th hearing / investigations, way that you can get activated and be able to move forward to provide protections for election workers and so forth as well, and the call for accountability for the people who really put this in motion. I want to thank you all so much. And Jeffrey, I see your hand up. We will be going to questions towards the end if we have time as well, but also emails if you have any questions. Is it the sound? Is it the sound a little bit, isn't it? I know. I saw Megan off of mute like, Carlos, I need you to fix the sound. So yes, thank you so much for that. What we're gonna do at this point is go ahead and turn the music off. I think we did a good job. But you know what? I want to also shout out Jonah for picking this song because I really like this song and it is an amazing, amazing job. So I know everyone is like, Carlos, you've had so many mess ups and we are tired of hearing you today. So, without further ado, we have, first of all, I want to shout out to all the 123 people who have joined us today, 124, excuse me. That really shows that people are ready for accountability, people are ready for change, people are ready to come together in a mass movement way as well. So, without further ado, I want to hand it off to Sabrina with Public Citizen. Sabrina?
Thank you so much, Carlos. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina, and I'm an intern with the Protect Democracy team at Public Citizen. So I'm just going to be basically going through a recap of the January 6th hearing so far. We've learned a lot over the past, I guess, 2 months worth of hearings. So much has been uncovered and conveyed. So, kind of one of the first points, on one of the first hearings, former Capitol Police Officer Carolyn Edwards testified about the carnage and chaos that she witnessed on that day. And we also saw previously unreleased documentary footage from Nick Wested, who was on the ground with the insurrectionists as they made their way to the Capitol. We also had testimony from former DOJ officials, which highlighted the extent of Trump's pressure campaign on the agency to try to convince voters the election was corrupt, even when the DOJ's own investigation concluded otherwise. On a phone call with Jeffrey Donahue, Trump said, "Just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressmen." We also know that Trump knew that people in the crowd were armed. Former aide to Mark Meadows, Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony showed us that Trump knew the crowd that came to see him at the Ellipse was armed, and he actively called for security to take away the magnetometers to allow those armed into the Ellipse, stating, "They're not here to hurt me." And we also saw the devastating impact on election workers as well. The committee showed the extent to which Trump and his allies pressured secretaries of state to find the votes. And they also highlighted the impact on everyday Americans who had been poll workers. False claims and doxing efforts sent a mob on Ruby Freeman and Andrea Shea Moss, election workers whose lives have been forever altered by the lies Trump and his allies have spread. So with that, we're just going to get into a couple of videos, also kind of just highlighting some important moments that have happened in some of the more recent hearings.
I was struck by the fact that he chose to begin the video by pushing the lie that there was a stolen election. And as the video went on, I felt a small sense of relief because he finally told these people to go home. But that was immediately followed up by him saying, "We love you, you're very special." And that was disturbing to me because he didn't distinguish between those that peacefully attended his speech earlier that day and those that we watched cause violence at the Capitol. Instead, he told the people who we had just watched storm our nation's Capitol with the intent on overthrowing our democracy, violently attack police officers, and chant heinous things like "Hang Mike Pence, we love you, you're very special." And as a spokesperson for him, I knew that I would be asked to defend that. And to me, his refusal to act and call off the mob that day and his refusal to condemn the violence was indefensible. And so I knew that I would be resigning that evening. And so I finished out the workday, went home and called my loved ones to tell them of my decision, and resigned that evening. I was struck by the fact that he chose to begin.
The mob was accomplishing President Trump's purpose, so of course he didn't intervene. Here's what will be clear by the end of this hearing. President Trump did not fail to act during the 187 minutes between leaving the Ellipse and telling the mob to go home. He chose not to act. The mob was accomplishing President.
The Trump campaign's lack of evidence was criticized by judges across the political spectrum. In Pennsylvania, a Trump-appointed judge concluded, quote, "Charges require specific allegations and proof. We have neither here." Another Trump-appointed judge warned that if cases like these succeeded, quote, any disappointed loser in a presidential election able to hire a team of clever lawyers could flag claimed deviations from election results and cast doubt on election results. The list goes on and on. Allegations are called, quote, an amalgamation of theories, conjecture, and speculation. In another, strained legal arguments without merit, unsupported by evidence.
Yeah, so those were just some clips of more recent hearings and highlighting a lot of the stuff that we've learned recently. We also learned about who sought pardons for their help on January 6th. Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, Mo Brooks, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Andy Biggs, Scott Perry, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and John Eastman all sought pardons relating to their roles in trying to overturn election results. Many of the members who sought pardons were present at the December 21st meeting, where they hatched a plan to disseminate false claims about the election and encourage members to actively fight against the certification of the results on January 6th. We also learned about connections to known white supremacist groups. Trump pardoned Roger Stone and Michael Flynn, both with known ties to white supremacist militia groups, the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, only a few weeks before January 6th. And the committee highlighted both Stone and Flynn's role in mobilizing and coordinating with the groups, showing that they sent them encrypted messages as well as used them as security guards. We learned about the right-wing media apparatus and how far-right social media influencers use their platform to amplify Trump's call to action and rile up his base even more. And most importantly, in this last hearing, we learned about Trump's dereliction of duty. 187 minutes of inaction, from the time of his speech on the ellipse to the time he sent out a video statement urging the insurrectionists to go home. As we saw from Representative Kinzinger, as he so aptly pointed out, Trump didn't fail to act, he chose not to act. The attack on the Capitol achieved the exact outcome he wanted, to stop the progression of the certification of the electoral votes. At every moment, when he was given a choice to stop the violence and call for peace, he refused. Even at the very end, once the mob left and the election was certified, he refused to say the election was over.
Thank you so much. That's just, yeah, I'm always struck for words just how to like go about that. Thank you so much for that amazing recaption of the January 6th hearing. Next we want to go to Peter Montgomery, who is a senior fellow at People for the American Way. Peter, if you can just start out, but just telling us like the on the ground attacks, just how things like the doing resolutions are a way to help.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the attacks on democracy that are the reason we need to have this campaign. The paranoia and rage that was provoked by former President Trump's false claims about the election have really brought unprecedented levels of threats and harassment down on local election officials. Some have had to even flee their homes and put their children into counseling. And as Sabrina mentioned, those of us who were watching the January 6 hearings got to hear some very moving testimony from election workers in Georgia who were falsely charged with tampering by Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and others. And their lives were really upended by a flood of threats, leaving them even afraid to go to the grocery store. And then it didn't stop with January 6th. Just last month, an election worker in New Mexico was so rattled by partisan election observers driving inches from her bumper as she returned ballots and other materials to the clerk's office after the state primary that she might not come back in the fall. And she's not alone. A study by the Brennan Center a few months ago found that 60% of officials are concerned that threats, harassment, and intimidation against local election officials will make it harder to retain and recruit people to work the elections. The political attacks also take a toll on election officials' morale, like hearing politicians lie about fraud and corruption in systems that people worked very hard to make fair and honest. And it's, this is not just partisan. All the people being harassed are not Democrats. A county election official in Arizona told PBS NewsHour, "I'm a Republican recorder living in a Republican county where the candidate they wanted to win won by 2-1 in this county. And I'm still getting grief, and so is my staff. Arizona's House Speaker, Rusty Bowers, testified that Trump supporters who are angry that he didn't abuse his power to try to overturn the election have smeared him as a pedophile and threatened his neighbors. You add all those kind of things together, and about 20% of election officials are reportedly planning to leave their jobs before 2024 election. Now, losing that much experience and expertise would be a problem anytime, but it's a real danger at a time when promoters of Trump's false claims are trying to get into state and local positions where they might be able to pull off what he couldn't do this time, which was throw out votes and overturn election results. Political strategist Steve Bannon, one of Trump's cronies, recently convicted of contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena to the January 6th committee, has urged his followers to take over the Republican Party from the bottom up as part of a strategy for building power by sowing chaos. Trump's disgraced national security, Michael Flynn, is recruiting QAnon conspiracy theorists to try to fill local election positions. And they're getting Stop the Steal activists named as election inspectors. They're recruiting thousands of poll workers and encouraging local partisans to challenge voters, be, quote, ever present in local election offices, and swamp election officials with document requests. So election deniers, conspiracy theorists, and big lie spreaders have also won Republican Party nominations for Secretary of State in New Mexico and Michigan. They've won primaries for governor in Pennsylvania and Maryland. A member of the Oath Keepers militia who was at the Capitol on January 6th has Trump's endorsement for Secretary of State in the Arizona primary next Tuesday. So these are people who would be really in positions to influence how the votes are counted. And states are not only passing voter suppression laws, but they're putting partisans in control of election machinery and threatening election workers with criminal penalties for making honest mistakes. So in one survey, a third of election officials said local governments could be doing more to support them. And that's where we all can take action to support democracy and support election workers at the local level. The resolutions we're talking about today are a chance for members of the public to show support for democracy and for the people who are protecting it, on a way to generate media coverage and public attention on the importance of supporting free and fair elections and election officials who are trying to do their jobs right. And they're a way to sound the alarm about all the threats that we're talking about today. Getting elected officials on the record makes that support even stronger. So I think I'll stop there and pass it over to you, Freddie. If it's Freddie or who goes next?
I think I'm up. This is Akini Freechild with Public Citizen. Just want to echo exactly what Peter was saying, that it really makes a huge difference when we show up, not just at the polls, but in these local government settings where there is already a lot of MAGA Republican activity to try to harass people who run our elections and the county and city governments that manage those people and manage those processes and fund our elections. So we're calling on you today to work to pass local resolutions which will show the political support is there for free and fair elections for the local governments that run our free and fair elections. So those can be local resolutions at the county, city, or town level. Most states have counties very heavily involved in running elections, so that's a really great place if you can to pass a resolution. Many of you might be more familiar with or more confident that you can pass something and get good media coverage in your city or town, so you should make a strategic decision about where you want to try to pass. But just as one example, to go off of some of the examples that Peter was sharing, in Green Bay, they recently passed funding for early voting in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the council unanimously voted in support. For the first time, 20 people who really support free and fair elections showed up to that meeting. Before that, it had been a steady stream of a few to more than a few people just harassing the local government process. And it was so refreshing, is what I've heard, to see people who really support our democracy showing up in Wisconsin, it's at the town level that local elections are run, showing up and just saying, we support you. We want you to have funding to be able to run our election fairly and to make it accessible. Makes a huge difference. One meeting got a probably split at best council to pass unanimously the funding that that local election official needed, and it changed the tone for a long time for that locality, especially now that those folks who showed up can stay involved, can pay attention. Are there MAGA supporters running to try to take over my local election? Are there people trying to suppress the vote locally? And showing up in those spaces can help you. And passing a resolution and getting press coverage for passing that resolution, or even press coverage for introducing that resolution, starts to show that political power well beyond that council room or that local government hearing room into your community, to show that there are lots of people who love and support our democracy, who are ready to fight back against Trump and MAGA Republicans' efforts to sabotage our elections. They're going to stand up for our democracy. So that's you and all the people you know. And we can hold Trump and others accountable. We can fund local elections. We can protect local officials from threats. And we can actually use this momentum to get people engaged right ahead of the midterms and make sure that they are making their voices heard. We can also use that momentum to pass state and federal action, to Peter's point about states restricting voting rights and making things harder for election officials instead of easier. We can push back by building local momentum first. And then there are some folks, and we'll be hearing a little bit about Milwaukee shortly. There's some great energy. If you want, I think resolutions are probably the best option for most folks because you can get them done quickly. You can also look at passing local laws along these same lines that better fund elections with money allocations or better protect election officials from people that might be bothering them on election day. So that's an option we'll talk about more later, but resolutions are a great way to get started. They're really a pretty easy lift. They don't involve a change in law or money. So that's the top line of what we're asking you to do. And Reddy's going to talk a little bit more about why this is such an important strategy, because we can't say it enough, how big of an impact this can have.
Thank you, Kenny. So happy to be here. But yeah, like you mentioned, these resolutions are going to be extremely valuable. As you've heard throughout the meeting today, Trump and his allies continue to sabotage our future elections by changing state laws, threatening state officials, and packing election administration office so that they can have the final say over election results even when they lose. So this is where the resolutions really come in. They can be resolutions can be symbolic, as they can declare how your community stands against these ongoing threats to our democracy. So like Kenny mentioned, passing a resolution can help build momentum at the local level to protect our freedom to vote and hold our elected officials accountable. These grassroots efforts in support of these resolutions can help us get local media signaling passion, support, and dedication of people to prevent an event like January 6th from happening ever again. I mean, just imagine communities across the United States coming together to passing these resolutions can send a powerful message. So in passing these local resolutions across the country, not only are we going to be building institutional support to safeguard our democracy, to protect our elections, but we are also showcasing the power of our community and the communities across the United States. So just wanted to say again, please join us in passing these resolutions in your community. We want to work with you and we want to help you do this, and we're here to help. But thank you. Kenny, anything else that I'm missing?
Sounds great. Thank you.
So thank you. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm gonna pass it on to the next person.
Yeah, thank you
Carlos.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Freddie and Akane, definitely for that wonderful, wonderful explanation and just the insight into resolutions. So without further ado, we're gonna go to our first poll of the evening. Jonah, if you want to go ahead and put the poll up whenever you're ready. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Yes, and this is a poll basically based on all the information that you all have heard so far. Are you ready to pass a county or town resolution in your communities? And this is and this is just about the resolutions that you just heard on ways that we can be effective and push for accountability on in our county and in our town as well, and able to really hold our elected officials accountable. And yeah, if anyone just give a quick thumbs up, make sure everyone's seeing that poll on their screen. Wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, we're just gonna give everyone a few minutes to go ahead and answer the poll. Um, yeah, and I mean, just really echoing just what was stated. I mean, accountability is so important. We cannot just allow yes, oh, I love the comments too. But yes, we cannot just sit back and just watch the January 6th hearings investigations go on and not take action and not do anything about it as well. So yes, thank you all so much for filling out the poll. We're going to keep it open for a few minutes. And then while you all are filling out the poll as well, we're going to go next to Apollo Deal to just talk a little bit about the overview of the toolkit that we have, which will also give you a little bit more insight into fighting fighting to pass a county or town resolution as well. Apollo?
Sweet. Thank you so much, Carlos. Hopefully by the time that I'm done talking, y'all will have an idea of 2 concrete steps, or actually 3, you can take to begin putting these resolutions in motion over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So yes, as Carlos said, I'm Apollo, and I'm here to really dive into the toolkit that we've developed for getting resolutions passed, and also to give y'all the key action items you need to keep in mind when we get off this call, and the resources you need to do it. So as we all know, the January 6th investigation made it clear, even more clear, how critical it is to ensure that our voting rights, poll workers, and democracy are protected. And these resolutions, their main goal is to address these 3 main ideas, these 3 broad concepts: accountability for bad actors, protecting local election officials, and stopping voter suppression measures. The toolkit that will be shared with you, or has been already, will walk you step by step through the process of passing on these important resolutions in your community. Well, we're going to talk about these steps today. Definitely, all of this is in the toolkit, so please take your time, absorb the information. I'm going to be going over stuff a few times, but if you feel overwhelmed, don't worry. The toolkit is a great source of reference, and we're all here as resources too. So, turning to the toolkit, your first step is going to be crafting the actual language of the resolution. You need to have a clear idea of what you'll be presenting to the legislature in your area, because they'll be convinced if you are. We've got sample resolution language put together for a variety of needs in the toolkit. I'll be sharing my screen in just a second to share. We've got both comprehensive language for more progressive county and town legislatures with more opportunity to kind of pick and choose what you want in there, and a longer resolution, and then more narrow language for more conservative county and town legislatures. Again, we trust you to make whatever changes to this resolution language you need, because you know your community's best, but we definitely want to keep our 3 broad ideas in mind guiding these resolutions, which are accountability for bad actors, protecting local election officials, and stopping voter suppression measures. So just to give you an example of what we're talking about when I share this sample resolution language, both of these are in the toolkit, but I'll be sharing my screen really quickly. Okay, wait just 1 second. All right, here we go. So I'm sharing my screen. Here is the sample resolution language for a more progressive legislature. We have a variety of different clauses that you can pick and choose from for the preamble here, again, displaying that kind of attention to the needs of your community, and also to the likelihood that with a progressive legislature, you've got a little bit more freedom, as opposed to a conservative legislature where you really need to keep it clear and simple. Again, here we're emphasizing the peaceful transfer of power. We're emphasizing how that's disrupted and how the elected representatives of the people are put in danger by a lot of the measures that Trump and his MAGA Republican allies are pushing. We have again, we've got multiple different options for these resolutions. So here is a little bit of a smaller, more narrow resolution for conservative legislatures, which really sticks to our core ideas, which draws us back to the elements of the Constitution and of our founding fathers, which the big lie in which the January 6th investigations are proving Trump and his allies are trying to overturn, but which is messaging that's going to be a lot more effective if we're looking at a conservative legislature. So again, I want to emphasize we are uh, attempting to reach a wide variety of people, and we're here to support you no matter whether your legislature is progressive or conservative. These tools and this resolution language is something that you can go over a little bit more in depth when you yourself open up the toolkit, and is something that you can adapt to the needs of your community. But something that's really important that we again want to ensure is guiding our intentions and our efforts when we're crafting the resolution language is saying we want accountability for bad actors. We want to get that momentum. We want to get that ethos in the minds of our legislatures and of our people. We want to protect local election officials from violence, from attacks, from threats, and from slander. And we also want to stop voter suppression measures. Okay, that's a lot of information, I know. But that's also why I'm emphasizing our three main themes, because that's really what you want to take away. You can look at the resolution language more closely when you get access to the toolkit, but keep those themes in mind because that's the heart of what we're talking about. Your job right now is just to know that this language exists. Once you get a hold of the toolkit, you can go through it, you can absorb it at your own pace. So that's step one. When we get off this call, you're going to want to look at the toolkit, you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the language, and you're going to want to start thinking about how you can adapt the resolutions, the sample resolutions that we've given you access to the needs of your community. The next step, and again, something that you can do as soon as we get off this call, is once you've drafted your language, gathering local support. Legislative bodies are far more likely to act if they recognize that the community they're beholden to collectively wants an outcome. You want to show them that there's broad community support for that kind of resolution. So we encourage you to consider reaching out to some local organizations, including your local Indivisible chapter and other local chapters of organizations that are part of the Not Above the Law Coalition. These are two categories of organizations, Not Above the Law and Indivisible, that we've got links to their central websites in the host toolkit, and I'll drop those links in the chat as soon as I'm done speaking too, so that you can research, so that you can see what local chapters are there near you. But there's also probably a bunch of other organizations in your area that have great connections and that have great resources that allow you to get this message out to the vast majority of people in your community. We really recommend that you think about who's already in your network and contact those folks, because and not only local organizations and leaders with built-in networks, but your own relations, your family, friends, and other connections. A combination of both this kind of relational and this organizational coalition building is going to be key to your success. So again, once we get off this call, we have two action items that you can take immediately, which are look at the host toolkit and look at the resolution language, look at the sample language that we have, and think about how you can craft it to apply to your community. Two, you're going to want to start thinking about local organizations and also just people in your life who you can reach out to and start gaining support for the resolutions. Think about who has pre-existing networks. Think about who's going to make a difference to your legislative council. Think about the sorts of people in your life and the sorts of organizations that are probably going to have sway in a legislative council. So those are two direct action items we have. I don't know if Marcelia is here to talk a little bit more about finding council members willing to introduce the resolution. I'll pass it to her, if so.
Yeah, thanks so much. Apollo, that was awesome. Thank you so much for going in depth about the toolkit and just the different um links that are there. And for each person in the chat, we will be sending a follow-up email after this with all of the links that we have been providing in the chat as well. And with that, I want to pass it off to Bree Perez. Oh, I think you're one second. You able to unmute?
Hi.
There we go.
Hi. Actually, Emily Peterson from our office is the one that will be speaking on behalf of the chairwoman.
All right, no problem.
I need to leave the meeting.
And there's a little bit of echo. There you go. Emily?
Hi, thank you, Carlos. My name is Emily Peterson. I am here on behalf of Chairwoman Nicholson. She apologizes that she couldn't be here today. She's actually in our county board meeting where they are presently adopting our resolution that allocated funds for our election commission and a resolution just like Apollo was sharing on the screen right now. So yeah, really exciting. We're happy to be here to explain kind of our process and tips for finding kind of legislators for support, as well as the community activist piece. So what happened when we crafted our resolution here at Milwaukee County, we actually had a community group, a local voter group, reach out to Chairwoman Nicholson. She's chair of the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors. Reach out exactly with a template resolution, just like Apollo shared. So that is a great way because one, it takes some of the work out of it for the elected official by giving them some sample language to use. And it's a great opportunity to engage in the process. Going to leadership within a legislative body is also just a great access point as well, especially if you know how they feel about voting. Afterwards, the chairwoman worked with our county clerk, who is in charge of our election commission, to finalize the resolution and also appropriate some funds so that when the resolution came forward to support these important voter education and outreach efforts, there was some money available to do voter kiosks, bus wraps, things like that. So the resolutions that were shown on the screen earlier are really great starting points, and that is literally exactly how it happened here in Milwaukee County. So I highly encourage you guys to take that advice that Apollo and Carlos have been sharing, because that toolkit is exactly how we got it going here in Milwaukee County. So the chairwoman actually just was able to join. So if she has anything else to say, I'll go ahead and let her speak too.
Awesome, Emily. Thank you. What is her name? Oh, Marcella. Is she not able to? The chairwoman, are you able to unmute?
Okay, hi, hello.
There we go. Oh, it's a little bit of an echo.
Okay, awesome.
There we go.
So I'm Marcilia Nicholson. Braceta Perez, she's actually my legislative assistant. I'm just wrapping up a county board meeting I was chairing today, where we successfully adopted that resolution as a full board. And now we just have to wait on the signature from our county executive. But I know Emily did an incredible job already, just sort of summing up the process we took. I just wanted to say hello, I'm Marcilia Nicholson. My pronouns are she, hers, and I chair the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors. I also work with the Center for Popular Democracy as their National Director of Civic Engagement. So I really love this work. I live this work, and I just wanted to say hi. Thank you for being engaged in this important topic. Democracy is at stake. Democracy is on the ballot. The rights of our people are on the ballot. So I just want to open up if folks have any questions for me, or I'll drop my email in the chat, and then please feel free to reach out to me and ask me any questions about this or anything else that pertains to this sort of work, whether it's legislating or just working with coalitions and organizers on the ground. So thank you so much, and thanks for hosting this call. This is incredible. I'm really amped up. We have a lot of work to do, but I know we can get it done.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Chairwoman.
Emily. Okay, thanks so much. And I'll drop my
Awesome.
email in the chat.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. I know people have probably tons of questions for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I see a question. What's the best way for folks to reach out to their council member? any way you can. So calls, phone calls, each district office should have phone numbers. They should also have email. Send a personalized email to your council member, call them up. You can also attend committee meetings. So if there is an item pertaining to the issue that you want to speak to your council member about, you can attend a council meeting and speak on that item publicly and have your opinions recorded in the public and for the future. And then, go through people. So you can go through other council members that you maybe have a relationship with to sort of sway or persuade another council member, or just work with, leaders in the community that have the ear of a council member. One thing I like to do is I like to look at campaign finance reports because it lets you know exactly who they listen to. And then, just Facebook, social media, tweet out. I mean, really, if there's an issue that's important to you and you can't get in touch with your council member, really use every tool at your disposal, because we're supposed to be here to listen to you and to hear from you. And the best way to do that is to do it in a very public manner. What if someone else is passing a similar resolution in your state? How can you find out if others in your state are attempting it too? So if someone in your state is passing a similar resolution, that's not exactly a bad thing. That's probably a really good thing, because that means that resolution will have the eyes of a lot more people, and it will seem less like a localized issue and more as an issue that most folks can, kind of get behind or weigh in on. In terms of finding out how others in your state, if others in your state are attempting it too, that's a little bit harder to determine. Most of the time when there's an item like this, it's in coordination with some sort of like coalition or group. So if you have any like state tables, if you have any grassroots organizations in your community that like pays attention to this sort of stuff, if you're like connected to labor or, other allies that maybe keep their eye on legislation because they have to lobby, that might be a good way to know if something is happening at the same time. And then also each government usually has their own sort of database that you can go in and sort of look at agendas. That might be tougher if you're in a big state with lots of local governments, like Wisconsin has hundreds of local governments. We're one of the states that have one of the most amount of village boards and council boards and supervisor boards and so on. So it's a little tougher to gauge that. But working with specific allies and coalitions, we're able to not only, gauge what other folks are doing, but even help organize those sorts of things. And I'm just making sure no other questions. Where do I find campaign finance reports? Okay, so I can't speak to like nationwide, but I know here in Wisconsin, you can locate those finance reports by going to your election commission website. So each state or locality should hopefully have some sort of like election commission, some sort of elections board or like campaign finance board panel. So you really want to locate that, either that specific site or that specific office. And campaign finance reports are public. If a legislator does not submit a campaign finance report, he's in violation. It should be reported to the Ethics Commission. So if you want access to those reports, find your local campaign finance, election commission panel. They all have different names, different structures, but that's pretty much where you might find those. And then campaign finance reports, we do them throughout the year. So we have a January report, we have a July report, we have, beginning of our terms. So those should be a continual thing. It's not like a once a year thing. Those are reports that should be continually, submitted based on the time of the year. And I want to, for the host, I want to make sure I'm not over time. So let me know how many more questions I should answer or.
No, thank you so much.
Another question is, if you live in a progressive district, can you help out elsewhere? Yes, and please do. I actually just hosted a national call with some grassroots organizations under our CPD umbrella. And some of us are in battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Florida, Georgia. And that's not to say other states aren't as important, but if you're in some place like California, New York, where you're pretty much, guaranteed to get a lot of your important things passed, it's so crucial that you support states like ours. So we have more capacity, more bandwidth, and specifically if you're in like battleground states or swing states, we're tired, right? Because we're constantly, trying to fight against veto-proof majorities. We're constantly trying to, lobby for every single vote. For instance, the 2020 election, as well as the 2018 presidential election, were determined by 22 to 25,000 votes. 22 to 25,000 votes, we decided our president and our governor. And so that means every single vote matters. Every single person that can help make a call, do a text exchange, encourage someone to, donate to a cause in a particular state, that would just help so much. So please do help out if you're in a progressive district or a progressive state and want to help out elsewhere. How do you support us? So whatever your, and I'm going to be very careful here, but we have some, groups. We have, coalitions that you can reach out to be a part of. What I'll do is when I drop my email into the chat box, if you're interested in helping out in either Wisconsin, even if it's Michigan or Pennsylvania, because I have connections there, just send me an email and I will direct you to the appropriate groups. I just won't do that on the call right now because I don't know if this is C3, C4, I want to be careful here.
Awesome, Chairwoman. Thank you so much
Any
for
tips on passing legislation or applying pressure in those states you're not a resident? How can we best support from a progressive area? So same, weighing in, locating those decision makers, finding those like contact points and really applying the pressure. One thing in Wisconsin that occurred was moveon.org, which is a national like petition sort of like organization. They actually collected petitions or signatures for a petition concerning our US Senate race that actually amassed 55,000 signatures, and about 30,000 came from Wisconsin, but the other 20 came from across the country. And what that did was show not only are people in Wisconsin, looking at how leadership conducts themselves, so are other folks across the country who also have a stake in these like local fights. Even a statewide, fight in Wisconsin impacts our nation, because what happens here in Wisconsin in terms of who we elect to protect our democracy, and us being a swing state, means that if Wisconsin loses, the nation loses. So, just keep on that pressure. And even if you're somewhere progressive, whether it's a district or a progressive state, and you want to weigh in, please do weigh in, sign petitions, make calls, send emails. We represent our communities as a whole. So we really do like to hear from everybody on these issues. And it really does send a really big message to those people that we're trying to, impact.
Chairwoman, can you hear?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, thank you all so much. I'm going to leave it there. Again, I'll drop my email in the chat. I look forward to hearing from you, and let's go democracy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chairwoman, for all your just wonderful experience and just all the just all the information. Before we get ready to close out, I want to go over to Meg Simons with People for the American Way, just to describe the website that you all have been seeing for so long in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone, I'm Meg Simons from People for the American Way. I don't know if I just spaced on my last name or my organization name, but wow, it is certainly a Thursday. All right, so super excited to share the toolkit with you all today. Let me share my screen. I have too many tabs open. Apologies, bear with me. Right. So this is the toolkit that we've been dropping in the chat, and I'm just going to walk you through it real quick. You've already heard so much great information from Apollo about kind of how to get started. And we just want to show you real quick kind of a top line overview of the toolkit and some of the things that will be really helpful. So one of the things that we've done with this toolkit is try and make it really easy for you to accomplish every step of this process, from drafting your resolution to getting it passed to continuing to support the work to protect our democracy in your local area. So we've broken it out for you into 7 steps. And if you look at each of these steps, we have resources and materials for you to actually draft your resolution, contact press about the event, organize your community, everything you need to make this resolution happen and get it passed. So you can go through step by step and look at kind of everything you need to build your coalition, to reach out to your legislator, and to protect our democracy, which is really exciting. And my favorite part, and the part I definitely wanted to make sure everyone saw before we left, is this organizer checklist, because it is a lot of information. But like we said, we've tried to make it really easy for you. And this handy checklist will help guide you through the process and make sure you are hitting every milestone you need to be successful in your effort. And so this is both on the website, but you can also click right here and print it or pin it to your phone home screen or bookmark the tab, whatever you want to do. But make sure you keep this checklist handy because this is going to be your guide to get you through the process and get this resolution passed. And as always, People for the American Way and Public Citizen are here to answer any questions you have. If you fill out this little form right here, kind of all of us, the whole team on this call will get a notification, and we can help you answer whatever questions you have and get you the resources you need to get this done. So super excited. If you have any questions about the toolkit, I'm happy to answer them. And really excited to be in this effort with you all and in this fight with you all, because protecting our democracy is the most important thing we can do right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meg. Due to time, if anyone has any questions, please email the email that has been put in the chat. If someone can just re-up that one more time for me, that'll be awesome. And then now we're going to go to Jonah just to talk about other potential next steps that people can take as well. Jonah?
Thanks so much, Carlos. First, this is Jonah, he, him pronouns with Public Citizens Democracy Campaign. First of all, it's really exciting that more than 200 of you have stayed through this whole call. And we're really excited to work with you to make this happen. Don't feel overwhelmed. We will work with you step by step. We're going to have these calls every Thursday, and we will also be reaching out to you one-on-one. So make sure you're filling out the polls when we put them in the chat. We're going to put another poll in if you're interested in doing this, so we know to prioritize following up with you and helping you through the process. We're also going to be posting them. We'll be showing you next week on how to post your effort to the website, and we'll have a way to do that then, so people can coordinate together and find each other. But this is something that we've done around overturning the Citizens United Supreme Court ruling. We worked with you all, People for the American Way and Public Citizen worked with you all along with Move to Amend. And we've passed over 800 resolutions related to that around the country. So we know how to do this. We've done this with you all before, and we'll work you through this process. This is a really important way that we can keep this public dialogue going around the January 6th investigation and the ongoing threat that Trump and MAGA Republicans represent to our freedom to vote. And this is, so doing these resolutions, passing these local laws are ways that we can both keep it in public eye, and in the case of passing the local laws, a case where we can actually impact and protect local election officials. So we will work with you to make those happen. And we really want them all over the country. So even if you live in a progressive area, in a progressive city, passing one locally is important because it keeps the dialogue going, and it will be part of our national news. We'll be able to say that we passed 40, 50, 60 around the country. So we want you to do this no matter where you are. So with that, I'm going to talk to the section that I was allocated to, which are other ways that you can take action in the near future relation to the January 6th ongoing investigation. First thing you can do, first thing that we want to really emphasize is that we are going to work with you to plan a mobilization. when the report is released, and you likely know by now that the January 6th Commission is going to be releasing a report, likely in September. And when that report is released, we are going to work with you to mobilize likely a rapid response within the day after the report's released to take the streets with press events and actions around the country calling for action. So stay tuned about that. But that is coming up in just about a month and a half, probably. So it's not too far away. The second thing is corporate accountability. We're working with CREW and Hazmat USA and other organizations to hold corporations accountable who are funding the insurrectionist campaigns, like the people who requested pardons, for example. There are corporations that are spending millions of dollars getting those people reelected, and we want to hold them accountable for that. We want to do bird dogging, so we want to ask questions of candidates at town halls and campaign meetings and congresspeople. And we're working with Center for Popular Democracy, who's leading an effort around bird dogging and asking those questions. But if you know a candidate speaking near you, especially one that's part of the insurrection, part of this ongoing Trump and his MAGA Republican allies who are threatening our elections, go ask them a question if they're speaking near you. Finally, we want to work to support, and I'm getting some background, I think someone needs to be muted. We want to support the Michigan and Arizona ballot initiatives. These are absolutely essential ballot initiatives that can fortify the democracy in those states against efforts by state legislators to throw out the will of the voters, and also to advance what we've been working on to protect the freedom to vote and advance the freedom to vote, like what Arizona is particularly crafted based on H.R. 1 and the Freedom to Vote Act. And Michigan, it contains many of those elements. So we want to support them. And as the chairwoman was saying, we can support efforts like that all around the country, not just in those states. And we'll be providing you ways to do that. So those are some other ways to be active, but we really hope that all of you will be involved with passing a local resolution and working to build momentum in the media around this through that. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Carlos, and we're going to do a final poll, I think.
Yes, we are. Look, see you over here. Read my mind. Yeah, so we are going to go to our final poll of the evening. And Jonah, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up whenever that is up and ready to roll. Yes, and this poll is really a little bit of a restating of our last poll, just about can you start your own resolution effort in your area, or would you rather to plug into a current resolution that is being held? So yeah, and the reason behind this is so we can send you all follow-up information. And Jonah, can you give me a quick thumbs up? Poll's good and everything. Wonderful, wonderful. So yes, as you all fill out the poll, definitely, and this is definitely a way for us to just know how we can best help you further. If it's putting you in contact with people who are already working on a resolution push, or if it is helping you start your own resolution push in your area as well. And while we give it 4 minutes for that, I don't know, Jonah and crew, Meg, did y'all want to go ahead and maybe answer a couple questions that may be in the chat? Yeah, so go ahead. If you have any questions at this point, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. And then we will be able to answer them as they come in, you all. Thank you so much. And one, I love the chat. I love just the comments going back and forth, people's ideas, the funniness that you all will say. It's like you all, I love it too, because you all say the things that I can't say on my job at the so I especially love when you all are in the chat. Oh, I see one from Amy. How to get more people to volunteer to be election site workers. So I'll open this up to the panel here, but I would also say how to be election workers, but also how to get people to join in your effort on the resolution push as well.
You know, actually, that's a great question for election workers. Poll worker recruitment is really important, and I meant to flag that for next steps. Power the Polls is a great organization working nationally to recruit poll workers, and they're having a National Day of Action on August 16th to recruit poll workers nationwide. So we'll put the link in the chat, but then also working as to do election protection and volunteering to make sure that people are safe to vote under the threat of Trump and the MAGA Republicans who are trying to make it unsafe around the country is really important. And we really want to pivot to doing both those things significantly as we're moving forward towards the election. So we'll put information about that in the chat, but thanks for that question. That's perfect. I forgot to mention that.
I also have seen a couple questions in the chat about how you can get connected with other people in your state who are working on similar resolutions. We are going to follow up with more information on that. So keep an eye out for the email that's going to come around after this and for more information coming from us. But we will have a way for you to connect with other people in your state. Organizing is all about building community, and we're super excited to help with that. There was also a question about where you can find the draft resolutions. Those are available at the toolkit. I will drop that link in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meg. Thank you so much, Jonah. I see some other questions, but I see one that I think we really need to address before we close out here in 2 minutes. Is would it be appropriate for a state Senate candidate to lead, to take the lead in getting a resolution passed in her hometown?
I don't know if my emphatic nodding is giving away the answer here. I will say that People for the American Way is working on contacting, with the help of Public Citizen, our Young Elected Officials Network, which is a network of young elected officials across the country to get them to lead efforts on these resolutions in their local areas. Yeah, I think this is definitely something anyone can take on, whether you're kind of an everyday person just trying to protect democracy, or an elected official who, you know, it's kind of your job at that point to protect democracy. So yeah.
And related to that, also having state resolutions, or a lot of times states are not in session right now, but state letters of support is definitely another great thing. A friend of ours here is our senator in New York, and she's going to do a sign-on letter for New York State, which is fantastic and definitely valuable as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you all so much. I am so sorry we are cutting short on time, so I will not be able to get to any other questions. But please email us with any of your questions that we didn't get a chance to answer, and we will follow up with you. If somebody could drop the email in the chat, that would be awesome. Yes, and before we let you all go, we have 2 things. One, this will be a weekly call series that we do, so definitely expect to get a mobilized link for next week to come join us again, so we can go more in depth about the resolutions and have dedicated time to answering you all's questions in any way that we can help you all with that as well. But also, we have a little bit of homework. I don't want to call it homework because I know a lot of us are like, I'm not in school no more, I'm not doing homework. But let's call it just after time, something like after time fun. That's a good way to say it. We're gonna have a little after time fun. And between now and next week, when we do our normal opening, we just want everyone who is going to lead on a resolution push to get to find a legislator that would be able to sponsor this resolution. And if you are not able to contact that legislator within the week, having at least 2 or 3 legislators that you plan to go to as backups as well, so that when we start, we are able to ask people who are the legislators that they're getting in contact with, or if they can just type in the chat how many legislators they have. And I see people are hopping off, so I will not hold up anybody else until 5 o'clock past then. So I want to thank you all so much for just being with us in community and working on moving this fight forward. And remember, we will be doing this next week at same day, Thursday, at 4 to 5 p.m. And yes, remember your week-long fun work. And we cannot wait to see you all again. Thank you all so much. Let's keep the fight going, get these resolutions done, and let's go ahead and save our democracy. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much.
Well, that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Now let's get that. Now let's get to work on prosecuting Trump, passing legislation against him, and all that. All right. Till next time. I'm just Jeff Barkdall, signing off.